Have you ever held a dream so tightly that when it didn't come true, a part of you crumbled? Not because the dream was wrong, but because the fantasy made you forget the beauty of what's real. Maybe you've even felt let down because life didn't match the dream in your head. What if that disappointment was actually your soul inviting you to something deeper? Welcome to the 41st evolutionary pattern, where fantasy becomes your teacher and surrender your superpower. Before we get into the details, a parable is always useful to lay the groundwork for understanding. This parable is called the Weaver of Empty Threads. At this point, please close your eyes and visualize the story I am about to share. There was once a woman known only as a weaver. She lived at the edge of a village and spent her days weaving tapestries no one ever saw. She'd sit at her loom by the window, pulling silken threads that shimmered with colors from dreams, not of this world, but of one she longed for. In her mind, she imagined a perfect kingdom, a place where no child cried, no lover left, no seasons changed without permission. Every day, she wove this kingdom with devotion, believing that if she could finish it, perhaps life would match its perfection. One day, a traveler knocked on her door. He had no shoes, only tired feet and a question. "Have you food to spare?" The weaver stared, confused. "Can't you see I'm building something more beautiful than bread?" The traveler smiled gently and asked, "And when will it be done?" She blinked. "When the world stops disappointing me." He nodded and left. Years passed. Her loom never stopped. Her threads grew finer, but she noticed her body ached more. Her hands trembled. One day, her thread snapped mid-weave, and for the first time, she looked outside her window instead of down. There was no perfect kingdom, but there was a morning light, bird song, a neighbor child laughing. All the things she'd be weaving into dreams were already there. The loom sat silent after that, but the weaver, she began to bake bread, and every evening travelers came. Not for fantasy, but for warmth, for presence, for love. Understanding the context to the 41st evolutionary pattern of change and its shadow of fantasy. It holds the archetype of initiation, of longing, and of creative dreaming, but its shadow, fantasy, is not imagination itself. It's what happens when we cling to how we think life should go. At its root, fantasy is the soul's yearning misplaced into mental projection. We picture a future, a partner, a success story, and attach to it like it's the only doorway to happiness. And when it doesn't happen, we spiral into disappointment, blame, and despair. The shadow pattern that's paired with the 41st evolutionary pattern of change is the 31st, and that is the shadow of arrogance and its fear of making the wrong choices. Its repressive nature is to become deferring, and the other, the reactive, is to become scornful. So you can see how the shadow of fantasy complements the shadow of arrogance and how they work together to keep us from actually making insightful choices, self-guided choices from our dreams, while at the same time trusting in how our dreams will be manifested through divine will. For those interested in doing deeper personal alchemy and wish to have a means of accelerating an understanding of shadow work, over the last 3 to 5 years, I have collected a wealth of information from various esoteric systems, namely the I Ching, human design, gene keys, the chakra systems, and astrology, as well as integrating them with the human genetic code. And in this chart, you will find the details of all the different shadows, all the different fears, the specific fears that fuel those specific shadows, all 64, all in relationship to each codon. And in this wheel, you will find 4 legends on each corner because they can't all fit on one corner or one side to make it a nice, evenly balanced square. So here is the statements from each zodiac sign. So you can see. And then we have the legend for each chakra. You'll notice that there are more than 7, and because there are more than 7 because it is including the spleen as a means to detect threats. So there's an intuitional center there. There's also a center of willpower called the thyroid, because when we are born, the thyroid is literally almost, if not as big as our heart. So we have to accommodate that. And on the other side of this, you will also find an understanding of the I Ching, hexagram system, the different trigrams, the relationship to the three-dimensional plane, the yin and the yang, and how each of the 6 lines are affiliated with different archetypes, thanks to the human design and or gene key system. And lastly, you will also find the human genetic sequence chart for all the amino acids associated with the human genetic code. But furthermore, you will also find in this chart all the different zodiacs, all 12, mixed with the human design gene key chart. Bear with me, my graphics card is not as fast as other people's on their computer, but you will see all the different fears, all the different shadows, and how they relate to each chakra in those colorful little dots. So you can see how it affects each energy center in the body and how each of them have their own repressive and reactive statements because there are 6 expressions in each challenge. Therefore, you will also find those 6 lines in there, all with their own repressive and reactive statements, their associated dilemmas from that specific shadow, which eventually will clear up, the gift from making the right choices regularly and practicing that gift with its own unique self-empowerment statement. So as you learn to vacate the trapped emotions such as sadness, fear, anger, shame, and guilt, and you reorient towards true self-alignment and honoring the intuition and inner authority that you possess, it will lead you towards the grace specific to that challenge. So if you would like to learn more about this and or you would like to download this file for your own personal means of translating your specific challenges in the human design system or in the gene key system, it is all there for you. All you have to go is to my website and download this PDF file. It's about 50 megabytes in size. I hope you enjoy this and hope you enjoy this brief glimpse into this massive PDF with all the details about all the specific challenges you'll have in your personal self-realization path. In order to find this PDF, a link will be found down below in the description of the YouTube video. When using that elaborate and vast chart of information, you can use the human design apps found in the App Store on Google Play so that you can choose whichever speaks to you most. And as you choose whichever human design app works best for you, you can then use that towards the chart. So you get your information and your numbers. And then after that, you can use the chart as reference. For example, I use the human design app, which helps me see the specific numbers that I need to see in the top right-hand corner. The red are the unconscious. These are the ones that were imprinted when the soul decided to remain anchored in the body about 90 days before you were born, between the second and the third trimester. The black numbers indicate the conscious, more aware challenges that you know you have in your current life, based on your survival challenges and your adversities currently going on in your life. You can also find that same application in the Human Design App Store for iPhone and or iOS before you start using the chart that you have purchased online. Thank you very much. And if you ever need more information on this and you wanted a free consultation in understanding the current challenges in your life and how it relates to human design, feel free to reach out through the links below. You can also visit thegenekeys.com. There, you will also find a different kind of chart. It relates to the same challenges and same numerical sequences as found in the I Ching and Human Design. And there you'll be able to find a free profile link where you can then enter in your personal information in this field and then have a look at your specific gene key profiles and understand your genus sequence, your Venus sequence in opening up your heart, your love sequence, prosperity, and finding inner harmony. Thank you for watching this short introduction into the Wheel of Evolutionary Change and the chart that I've shown you in brief. And hopefully through those apps and through this PDF, you will find a way to decode the challenges you face and understand how to make the best choices for you and everyone you were meant to impact positively in your life. Now back to the shadow work and the evolutionary change in this video. In the lens of physical evolution, fantasy is how our species developed the capacity to envision. It allowed us to plan, innovate, imagine, and survive. But spiritually, we've outgrown the need to control what comes next. We're learning a new kind of intelligence, trusting life as it unfolds rather than scripting it. That's why the 41st pattern hurts so much. It shows us how hard it is to release the illusion of control, even when it's keeping us small. At its core, this pattern of evolutionary change reveals the sacredness of longing. The problem isn't that we long for more. It's that we mistake the form of the longing for the fulfillment itself. What we're truly yearning for is meaning, connection, love, and a divine intimacy. Not the person, not the job, not the success. Those are symbols. The real treasure is underneath. Many people ask, how do I fix this situation? How do I stop fantasizing? But that's still the fantasy speaking. This pattern can't be solved. It's lived through, felt, grieved, and released. The more we chase perfect visions, the more burned out or emotionally numb we'll become. And yet, as the shadow softens, one begins to notice something else. One anticipates life, not from control, but from curiosity. We stop scripting. We start listening. The ascended state of this pattern, the highest expression it provides, is emanation. It's not about manifesting the dream. It's about becoming the canvas life paints on. This is when one no longer needs their story to go a certain way. One becomes the story itself. There's nothing to prove, nothing to force, only the deep, radiant unfolding of life through you. This grace is not the reward for getting it right, but the natural state that returns when you stop resisting what is. So here's what I invite you all to consider today. Where are you still waiting for life to match your fantasy? What would it feel like to stop planning and start participating? Can one sit in the space between longing and fulfillment and just listen. The 41st pattern of evolution doesn't ask one to abandon their dreams. It asks one to release one's attachment to how they unfold. Because behind every unmet fantasy is a doorway to the present. And in the present, there is love, there is grace, and there is you exactly as you are. If this touched something in you, please like, subscribe, and leave a comment, maybe an answer to this question. What fantasy have you been carrying, and are you ready to let it go? If you want to continue going deeper, you can read the description below. There'll be more insight there and links to be able to go through this in more depth through a specific shadow journey created to help you transmute not only this shadow, but the many you deal with throughout your path to full self-realization. So until next time, keep listening, keep feeling, and keep trusting what's unfolding. Thank you for watching this video and going on this journey with me in its entirety. As said before, there is a description down below with links. As said before, there's a description down below to help you understand the shadow a little better. There are links to contact me for consultation, such as an email address, and there's a website that you can also visit to learn more about me, what I do, how I do it, and why. After that, there are links to 3 support groups: divination systems, where you can learn about all the different shadows, all the different fears, how to navigate through them, understanding the dilemmas within, and knowing what feels right in terms of making the right choices and having the right visions that really ignite your soul. The next one is emotional intelligence and mastery. So you can channel the emotions to charge your visions, because how you feel about that vision can be integrated in bringing it into the present. But it must be regularly embodied. But some other stuff might need to be purged, which is the reason why I have my 3rd emotional trauma release meetup group. And there you can let go of past disappointment. You can let go of grief. You can let go of sadness, of frustration, etc. So then you can create vacancy for what really will nourish your soul, the feelings that will help renew your faith of a life that will truly fulfill you. Thank you for allowing me to be part of this journey with you. God bless you on yours. Namaste, and good life to you all.